Hey there, Tracy here for Trinity Stamps. In today's video, I'm going to be using the Cozy Bear MD Tiny Bandage and Healing Wishes stamps and coordinating dies. And I'm making a Mary Bear shaker. Why do I call it a Mary Bear? Well, my friend Mary Gunn of Craft Roulette fame uses this bear so much. When I see it, I think of her. So he's got a nickname and it's Mary Bear. So let's go ahead and jump on into the video. Okay, so I've got all the gear I need, and hello, by the way. So I've got this Cozy Bear MD stamp set, which I love this little bear. It's so adorable. I was so excited to get it. And then I've got the stamps and dies here, and I've got the coordinating dies for the Cozy Bear as well. And then anything I'm using, I'll of course list down below. And then I've got the tiny bandage die set. So I'm going to start out by stamping the little bear here. And I'm going to stamp that on some alcohol marker friendly paper. The best advice, because I'm going to color him in non-traditional, non-conventional colors, which are light to start with, is to make sure your ink is fully dry. And I even let it dry for a while and then I heat set it. So I do like to use the Ink on 3 Blackout. I've got several brands, and this is just the one I reach for. I don't know. It's just the one I reach for. So I'm going to give him about 3 stamps because he's a brand new stamp and he's not quite conditioned enough yet. So I'm sure that he's dark enough. And then I'll pull that out and set it aside to dry. And we'll move on to something else while we're waiting for that to dry. So I need to do my bandage, and I don't really have any Band-Aid color paper, so I'm going to make some. And so this is some Basil cardstock here. So I'm trying to use textured cardstock, and I'm going to use the Tea-Dye Distress Oxide to kind of color it a Band-Aid color. I don't know. Band-Aids are sort of pinkish, tannish. So then I'm going to do the tea dye in the ink in a much lighter application for the Band-Aid part. So the dark part I did there is for the middle part of the Band-Aid, and this is for the outside part of the Band-Aid. And I'll just ink blend that on with my blending buddy. I don't have a blending buddy for my oxides yet, so I'm just using a plain old brush one of these days. So I've got those cut and colored, but I wasn't super thrilled with the color that they came out. I felt like they needed a little more pinky tone, so I just took whatever ink was on my pink blending buddy and went over it lightly with that pink, and I got more of the color I was looking for. So that was the main thing, was to kind of get the color I'm looking for. And I've got these little hearts, and I'm going to cut out probably about 9 of those and just set all of this aside in my little tray. And then I've got my little bear, so I'm going to color him, and I'm going to color him high speed. I am showing you the colors I'm using, and I'm using Ohuhu markers, by the way. I've got this here in slow motion so you can kind of take note of the marker colors that I'm using. And I never ended up using the colorless blender, but I always take it out just in case I need it. And so I'm going to do the bear first, which is I'm going to do in some blue shades. And this is where I will hopefully shortly here speed things up. Right now we're going really, really slow. There we go. Now we're speeded up. Because, you know, I mean, it takes a while to color, and it's actually simple coloring. So I'm going to fill the whole thing in with my lightest shade of blue here. And this is sort of a turquoisey blue. I love this color, though, and I love this color combination. So just filling the whole thing in, except for the tip of the nose, because I'm going to do that in kind of almost the same color as the Band-Aid. And I'm being really careful not to go over the black lines because it's just my experience with light colored inks, alcohol markers, that they like to smear that black ink. So I'm not going to let that happen. And then I'm going to just kind of create some shadow layers where I think shadows should be. Do I know where they should be? Not really, but I would think they'd be on the insides of things. And he'd be a little lighter on the outsides, and I think his neck would cast a shadow. And then he's going to have kind of a shadow on the left side of his face. Just come around, then come around the nose a little bit to kind of give that a little dimension, and inside that little ear. And then I'll come in with my darkest blue, which is more of a green blue, and that's kind of what I'm looking for once I blend them all together. And just do kind of a thinner line around the thicker shading line that I did before. And that'll give me that added shading. And you don't have to go through all this. You can just do simple coloring. It's not a big deal. So then I'll take my lightest blue and I'll just blend that all out. So pretty simple coloring. And you can go over it once or twice. I believe I go over it with my lightest blue again once it's dried, just to kind of blend it even further. Because that, like I said, that darkest blue that I use, I think it's the PB10, is more of a green blue than these two blues. So I want to make sure that it's, you know, all the colors are cohesive. And then I'm just going to darken here around the nose and blend that out some, just to give that nose a little bit more dimension. So then I'm going to color whatever he's wearing underneath there, something red. And I'm being super careful with my red because I don't want it to bleed into my blue. So I'm not going crazy with that. There's only a tiny amount, so there we go. And then I'll do the nose here, and I'm just going to come in with the lightest shade first. And then I'll just do the little darker shade kind of down at the bottom half. And then once that's completely dry, and I want to make sure that it's fully dry, I will come in with my white pen. So what I've found here is with the white pen, it's better if you make sure that the paper is completely dry, and you have less chance of your alcohol markers bleeding through the white. And that's just something I've been learning through experience. Now, if I could learn to draw straight, that'd be really cool. But it is what it is. They're highlights, so they don't have to be perfect. So I'm highlighting the lighter areas. We'll give him a little highlight on his whatever, underwear, diaper, I don't know. I don't know what he's wearing, a bathing suit. Okay, a little bit here on the nose. I'm not going crazy here, just little bits. And he's ready to go. I just need to cut him out with the coordinating die. And I'm also going to cut him out of a heavier piece of cardstock. That's 120 pound. So I've got that all cut out off camera. Now, I've used a die from my stash to create my shaker window. And what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to add some rip and stick tape around the edge. In hindsight, I probably should have used my thinner, but I have some thinner, but I just didn't. You know how it is. You're like, okay, just grab what's handy. And that was what was handy. I'm just going to go all the way around this with the rip and stick tape. And then I'll just tuck in any leftovers. And so I've cut the acetate and the background out of the larger die. And then I've cut the frame out of the smaller die. And I've used the same red paper as I used for the hearts. And then some sort of coordinating paper that matches with the little bear. We'll go ahead and pull the backer off of this. And I really love the rip and stick tape. It's super handy. I'm not real crazy about putting glue on acetate because although some people can really do a nice, neat job, I'm not some people. I make a mess, so I like using tape because there's no mess. And you see here, I'm just tucking up the excess tape because I felt like in some areas it might have been too wide and showing through the acetate, and I didn't want that. So I'm just kind of rolling it up. It's not a big deal. And then I'll lay my frame down on top of it and I'll trim off any excess. Get that frame down. Come on, aim. You can do it. You can do it. I got pretty close. I'm not mad. I've got some excess and I can just trim that off with my scissors, trying to be careful not to actually trim my frame. I do get it in one spot, but it's not a big deal. You can't tell. No one will ever know. Just get this excess, and that's where these Teflon scissors come in handy, is because that's all real sticky. Get those little goobers off. Got a little one here somewhere. There it is, okay. And then I'm just making sure that any sticky is tucked in. And this is going to lay down on top of that blue piece, so I'm going to go ahead and use some foam strips here and go around the frame to raise it up. And I'm going to go around those rounded corners, and I get real lucky here because I think three or four strips, I can't remember. It was five minutes ago. You know how that goes. Kind of get that tucked around. And get my next piece and just make sure it's butted up against there. Get it wrapped around the corner. Yeah, and so my third piece is not quite long enough, so I make adjustments, and that does the trick. Sorry about my hair hanging in there. I have the craziest hair, friends. So see, it doesn't quite fit. It's got just a little gap in it, so I'm going to lift it and just get it a little closer to the edge, but not hanging over, so that I have that little extra centimeter to make it all fit. And squeeze that in there, and boom, good to go. Now all I need to do is fill it with my shaker bit. So I've got these little bandages. Are these not the most adorable? And they're little clay bits. So I'm going to open up the package. I haven't opened it yet. Brand new release. And by the way, if I haven't said so, I will have everything I use listed in the description box below. Those are affiliate links, so if you click them, I will make a small commission at no extra cost to you. All of the designers appreciate your support. So I'm going to get a few Band-Aids in there and just make sure that they're all laying flat. And then I've got these little dot things. Gosh, I can never remember the name of those things. Shaker pops. And then I've got these little flat kind of a turquoise color. And then I'm going to add glue. So I've got all my shaker bits in. I'm going to add some liquid glue to my little frame here. And just make sure I get plenty of glue on it. So this part I don't mind putting glue on, and I like making my shakers stand alone. So that way I don't have to worry about things rolling away, because I don't live in the most even house. I couldn't tell you. It's just a little bit crooked and things will roll on my desk. And then I'll just lay this back apart, and then I'll lay something flat and heavy on it until it's dry. So make sure it's on there nice and straight, and then grab this little acrylic block here, well actually a big acrylic block, and we'll wait for that to dry. So that's dry, but now I need to do the healing wishes, and I'm going to do the healing hugs, and I have here the coordinating die. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to stamp the healing hugs in black, and I am going to heat emboss it. So I'll do that off camera and get it cut out, and I have it layered up on 2 extra layers. So we're ready to build our card now. So I've got an A2 card base here, and I'm going to start with my shaker portion. And I'm just going to glue it down, liquid glue, and get it centered as best as I can. I love the turquoise color with the red. It's just such a dynamic color duo. And then adding like a coral color with it is just tops. So I'm going to lay the Band-Aid kind of catty corner here, and I'm just going to lay my glue down on my actual frame, because I only want it glued to the frame. Like I said, I'm kind of messy if I get glue on my acetate. So let me just adjust this Band-Aid the way I want it. And then little Mary Bear is going to be sitting on the Band-Aid. Isn't that adorable? Oh my gosh. So I am going to pop Mary Bear up, and let me see what foam tape. I want rather a taller foam tape for that. So I'm going to grab my foam tape roll here, and I'm just going to cut a piece off and then fit it onto the bear. So I think that's about 3 millimeters. I don't know. It's taller. That's all I know. It's taller. Oops, let's don't have accidents here. And I think I'll make the other one coming up like a T. There's a lot of pop in this. You would have to add extra postage because not only is the bear popped up, but so is the shaker card part. And I would, you know, do the extra postage rather than have somebody else have to pay it. So we'll set him on there like he's sitting on that Band-Aid. Oh my gosh, is that so cute. And then we're going to start adding our hearts. And I'm going to corner my hearts. So I'm going to do one on each corner. So these two will go right side up and in the corner. And the other two will go upside down and in the corners. So that the hearts just kind of frame everything. I didn't want to waste those hearts. And, you know, in a perfect world, I would save them. But I don't live in a perfect world. And if I try and save them, I'm most likely to lose them. I don't know if you're like that at all, but that's totally me. And I have, you know, probably 1,000 different places that I store stuff like that, and then I can't find them still. So I'm going to add a couple of these little hearts onto the Band-Aid itself, and I do want to use a lower profile foam tape for that. So I've got these itty-bitty little squares that are 1 millimeter. So I don't want it super popped up. I just want it a little bit popped up, because it's going to tuck kind of under Mary Bear. Just make sure there's nothing sticking out, and I'm going to take the backers off right away. Come on. Stuck to me instead of where I need it sticking. And I'm just going to kind of place it, yeah, right there. I don't know. I think this one I'm not going to pop up. I'm going to make that one go flat down. Just add a little liquid glue. I love this little Band-Aid. I can think of so many uses for it. And then I'm going to place the sentiment, I think right about there. And I'm going to use my rip and stick tape for that because of earlier statement, I'm kind of messy with glue. And I don't want to make a mess on my nice pretty acetate. So I'll just use some rip and stick tape and it'll work just fine. Let's pull the backers off. Tuck that little excess in. Get that out of my way here. And then let's go ahead and place this. I want to make sure it's on there nice and straight. Kind of looks straight adjacent to me, so we'll take it. And that's the card. I've got 3 little hearts left over, so let's put them on the inside of the card. Let's grab them, and I might as well use them, right? And just kind of pulls the outside with the inside. And you can write your own sentiment. You can add another sentiment if you want to. This time I'm just going to glue my glue to the paper and then stick the heart down because it's so much easier that way. Listen, if there's an easy button, I'm going to press it. Just do this little one right here. There we go. We've got our little shaker card with our little shaker bits inside. All self-contained there. So cute. I just love this. I do. I'm happy. It's not that often that I'm super pleased with something I made, but I really do love this. Now let's move all these distractions here and get zoomed in so we can have a better look at this little darling bear. I hope you like this video. If you do, why don't you leave us a thumbs up? Check the description box, and there are some still photos at the end of the video. Thank you so much for coming and hanging out with us. We appreciate each and every one of you. Have a great day. Bye-bye.